So we've just got here, we've just, what's the word? We've just set it up. Yeah, so me, Ed, Charlotte and Scarlet have all helped with the room set up. So these are all the MK bags. Men's at this side, women's at this side. We've also got some t-shirts from UltraFlex for the guys and girls sizes as well. We are waiting on one of Cuba's clients, Lewis, whose mum and their company that they own have created some MK t-shirts for us also that we will show. So grateful for them because literally dropped it on her last minute, so incredible stuff. And then we've got the MK, what can we call it, area. I actually wanted this at a wedding, but it was a no-no from Cooper, so I've now got it at the TV instead. And then obviously the stage and how things are going to look also.
That good? Definitely a wonderful room of people. As you all know, the coaching process has definitely been a funny one the past 2 years, especially with us all pretty much being locked up. So it's definitely great to get you all together, you know, as a unit, all together, try and do a bit of socialising, mingling. But anyway, I'm going to do a bit of a talk about the coaching process later on. First and foremost, like I said, like Meg said, massive thank you for everyone that could make it. We do appreciate it, and we definitely value all your presence a hell of a lot. It means a lot to us. So we're going to kick the day off with the girls talking a little bit about their own journey, which I'm sure you can all relate to. And then we're going to have Dave do a little bit of talk about the importance of health, longevity.
Got a great poster boy.
Yes. Listen. It's all about what you can bring to the table, not come on. So, massive thank you. We will get you goodie bags all in good time. There's waters on the side, anyone that needs to get hydrated, but I'm pretty sure you're all pretty equipped. But yeah, thank you guys. We'll start with Charlotte.
Thank you.
You'll be alright. We've got you. Let's go.
So growing up, obviously, quite a structured upbringing in terms of training and competing as a child through into dancing, which has probably helped my bikini and bodybuilding journey. I had trained in the gym a little bit, but I kind of found myself thinking, okay, I've retired from dancing, what am I going to do now? Went into the gym, fell in love with it. I'm sure everybody's had that kind of experience themselves. I was working a full-time job, trying to take my bodybuilding as serious as I could. I think from dancing, that was one thing that I was really keen to do, was if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly. And I completely threw myself into it. There was no, I'll have a go and see what I feel. It was, I'm going to go for it and I'm going to see where I can get. The non-negotiables, we've all got training, food to eat, food to make, sleep to get. You have to prioritise those and be as organised as you can. Yes, we've got work, we've got family commitments, but if you can get yourself really organised, get your schedule on point, then that's going to really help you progress. The last thing I wanted to touch on was injury, because I'm a poster girl for injury. I had a really big operation in 2020. I was completely out, couldn't do anything. And I think I wanted to just share that, because I think if you can keep your mind right and your kind of positivity, then that is going to help you move forwards. I didn't kind of fall to pieces, and I made sure that I was controlling all the things that I could, like food and rest.
She did everything that she could possibly do. So the only thing she couldn't do is train, but trust me, she did everything right. Day-to-day routine, anything that she could do in terms of recovery, nutrition, sleep, she got nailed. So she was living like, a bodybuilder, day in, day out. She committed herself every single day despite not being able to train. So I think at times we have to be mindful of there is always something we can do regardless of the situation.
Right, so I'm Scarlet. And so my athlete journey didn't really start as an athlete. I've not got a background in sports or anything like that. I started from a very beginner powerlifter, and I basically just fell in love with the sport from from the start really, and built my way up. Did like 14 competitions from beginner up to like a pro level, and then got invited to lift at Pro Raw in the Arnolds in Australia, which was the peak of the pandemic. So I flew all the way to Australia to do this competition. That never happened. Oh shit, like I've just dedicated the last 4 years of my life to powerlifting, and now there's no gyms and I can't train powerlifting in my living room with a dumbbell. So I was like, right. So I messaged these guys. I was like, do you fancy helping me do some bodybuilding? Was basically just doing everything. And I learned a lot of mistakes through putting too much in the pot at once, but it's something that I've learned through the help from obviously Megan in terms of prioritising your schedule and making sure you've got a set time to do certain things, and so your head doesn't fall off, because we can all be super busy but not really necessarily productive. And I feel like everyone wants to just take on the world, and it looks all right on paper when you're like, yeah, I can do all of that in one day, but then you come to that day and you're like, yeah, I'm not fucked.
Right. The single most important factor to me, and I speak of this retrospectively because I have completely and totally trashed my own health. I have a total of 23 muscle tears, 2 knackered vertebrae in my neck, 2 smashed discs in my back, blocked nerves in my left leg, severe arthritis in my ankle, feet and toes, stage 3.4 kidney failure, heart failure, and potentially a heart attack last Sunday. Shit happens, get on with it. To be better at what you do, whatever it is, to perform at your best, you need to be healthy. It's as simple as that. The healthier you are, the better you train. The easier it is to gain and make progress. The better you perform, both in and out of the gym. The better you recover. And the longer you have in this sport. Let's not deny, drugs are commonplace. They're not safe. They never will be. And anyone that ever tells you taking drugs is safe is lying. But the risks can be managed. But only if you're aware of what the risks are and you put in place things to offset those risks. The biggest single thing you can do for your health is cardio. It's very easy to get particularly driven in this, and that can be a negative and a positive. I set off on a journey 8-9 years ago now to quite literally see how big I could get. At the time when I started, I was dieting for the British. I was 310 pound at 11%. And I hated every single frigging second of it. I wasn't stepping on stage for me, I was stepping on stage for everybody else. I did not want to do it. But I loved training. And I loved eating, as I still do. Fast forward, 7 months later, I was 365 pound. The biggest I got was 415. At which point my kidneys failed. I still resembled a human being at about 390. I was probably more closer to a beluga whale at 415, but I just went too far because that was it. That's all I could see. I could see nothing else. That can be a very positive trait, is channeled positively, but it can be a very damaging and destroying trait if not. You need to take time for yourself. And though we are in the process of building our physiques, well, you are, I'm not, building our businesses, we also need to build ourselves. We need to look after ourselves, both physically and mentally. It is very easy because it's celebrated, Generally, I start work at 5 in the morning and finish at 9 at night. I do it because I enjoy what I do. But it doesn't mean I don't need to stop and smell the roses from time to time. What happens when it ends? And it will end. Then what? Who are you then? A sad, washed up has-been? Well, never been really, I suppose, to be taken as good truth. But the point is, be driven, be dedicated, but also be balanced. Because that balance will see you through it all. And when times get rough, when the world's not going your way, when you're injured, there's more depth to you as a person. I deal with people day in, day out that can't stop anabolics because they are their physique, and without their physique they're nobody, and without the anabolics they don't have a physique. We're all much more than that. And you will be a better athlete the more complete you are as a person. You know, dedication is amazing, but it is a very two-edged sword. Use it in a positive sense and keep yourself grounded and look after your physical and mental health.
Other than not going above 400 pounds, what do you think you could have done retrospectively to protect your health and nutrition?
Nothing. Because it wouldn't have been the journey I had. People might find this very strange. I mean, I am a walking mess. I'm in constant pain with my feet. My chest is killing me at the moment. But without that journey, I wouldn't be here. And I quite like where here is, despite all the crap that's wrong with me. There's lots of things I could have done. I might say, not getting to 400 pound, not taking 2.5 grams of tren. They all help. But, I mean, my biggest cycle, actually, no, that's a lie, it was 1.5 grams of tren. Like that, it's okay. My biggest cycle was 4.5 grams of gear, 120 IU of Slin, and 27 IU of Farmer Growth a day. I took the piss, without doubt, because I thought I was indestructible. I shoulder pressed 5 plates aside for reps. I bent over row 6. You know what I mean? Yeah, I couldn't break. I don't, daft as it sounds, I don't actually regret any of it. I think it was, don't get me wrong, if I could take a pill and fix my health problems now, I'd take it straight away. But that journey gave me an appreciation of everything. And not just the physical aspects, but the mental rabbit holes you disappear down. When you start sitting there and thinking, what other drugs can I take to get massive, something's gone seriously wrong with your thought process. And I went through that. I went through from going the biggest thing on the, well, not in the country, to being a fat, middle-aged, knackered old bloke. And mentally that was difficult. But it all adds to your experience, and it's now hopefully things I can share with other people that may help them.
Thank you, Cuba, for the nice intro. I appreciate that.
It's a good one, it's a good one.
I was a little bit nervous about what might have been said there as well, so. I'll save the Cuba stories and the pictures for the later in the presentation. So, what I'm going to talk to you today is about business. However, I appreciate the audience that have some of your coaches, some of your athletes, some of your business owners as well. So I want to make it relevant to the things that you're talking about. I'm happy to take some questions at the end, but if there's anything that's burning during, feel free to put your hand up if you're brave enough. The business skills are generic. The product may vary, but the actual skills that sit behind that are the same. And it's adapting those skills to the particular circumstances you have. Some of what I also talk about today is just about how to run your life, how to be more effective and more efficient, and ultimately how to have a high performance mindset as well. So in terms of coaching skills, whether you're doing this with yourself or others, one of the things that's really important to do is ask open questions. It's very easy to go straight into tell mode. You need to do this, what you should do is that. And actually open questions, a simple example, and many of you may know this already, is how do you feel about how it's going? What do you think you could have done differently? Those sort of things. And you can draw the information from that person. It's really important also because you then start to get an understanding of, do they even know what the problem is? Because if they say to you, actually, I know what the problem is, I've just been cheating on my diet all week. Okay, well, that's fine. At least we know we're starting on the same page. We think, I can't figure it out. I just don't know what's wrong. Well, you have to go through a different set of questioning skills around that. And I think then you use your closed questions at the end. So when you actually want to say, okay, so can we agree that what we've just discussed is a great plan for you to go ahead with? Yes, it is. So open when you're opening up the conversation, close when closing is a simple way to remember that. Active listening is so important. Some people, you can think of people in your personal life perhaps, when you talk to them, you get the sense that they're just waiting for you to stop speaking so they can tell you what they really want to talk about. They're not actually listening to you. So active listening is so important in terms of actually absorbing the information that you're taking on board rather than just waiting for your turn to participate in that conversation. And then in terms of developing as a coach or developing in your career, I think it's really important to ask for feedback, to ask people around you, how am I doing? What do you think of how that went? And gather some feedback, because you'll have an idea of how you think you're doing, but it's getting someone else's perspective is really important. And where appropriate, also being able to have challenging conversations with people. We live in a fairly sort of soft society now where it's very rare that you see someone actually challenge a certain behaviour. So it's getting that ability to develop people and say, actually, do you think that is appropriate, the way that you dealt with that? Or is that really a valid excuse? Because there's a lot of excuses, and then it's easy to become an enabler where you just let that excuse perpetuate. Oh, well, I didn't have time, I couldn't get my meals, I couldn't do this. Actually, if you want it, you can find a way. So avoiding that excuses mentality is really important, and challenging it where is appropriate, and obviously in a pleasant and a friendly way. In terms of priorities, this is a really key thing. I make a list every day of the top 5 things I need to do that day, and they're in priority order. Number 1 is the first thing I need to do. Now, it sounds simpler. We all know these things. The difference is we don't all do these things. So actually saying, well, I know that number 1 on my list is to have a difficult conversation with a client about how much their stock market investment has dropped. I don't really want to have that conversation because it's a very awkward conversation to tell someone they've lost hundreds of thousands of pounds. So it's very easy for me to procrastinate and think, oh, actually, I'll do number 10 on my list. I'll bring that person who wants to tell me how great I am, because that's a nice conversation. That sounds like a good way to start my day. But what I need to do is be disciplined and make that difficult, this call, that awkward thing first. And some of you will have heard the rocks and sands analogy. You put the rocks into the glass first and you pour the sand in afterwards. So do the difficult things, do the important things first, because then if you do run out of time, you've still done the key things. I can't stress this enough. If you can't answer the question of where I want to be in 3 years and 5 years, it's something you definitely want to start with. It's very easy to think about that in the context of what you think other people want you to do. And it's really important to think about what you really want, because what somebody else wants may be totally different from what you want. What you think you want when you really think about it may be different as well. So having that really clear vision, this is where I want to get to, these are my goals, this is why they're important to me, and these are the things I'm going to do along the way. And so goal setting is really key. Think about how you'd like to be described. So people tend to describe someone, you'll know this socially, in one sentence. Well, that's Cuba. He's a business coach and he runs a gym. Fantastic competitor. It's probably about as much as you can squeeze into one sentence. That's so-and-so, what they do is this. So what is your sentence? When people describe you, what do you think that they say about you? That's so-and-so and they are insert the words. And then think about what do they say and what do you want it to be, and how can you make that sentence be the same thing as well. If any of you are brave enough, feel free to send me a message with what you think of me after the presentation. I think the other thing that you see with really successful people is great habits. Really successful people have fantastic habits, and once they've established that habit, it becomes a habit every day. So I don't compete anymore. I still get up and do cardio every morning, 6 days a week, sometimes 7. I don't compete anymore, but I still eat well because I've established good habits that I think are healthy and the things that you should do. I thought the last presentation was really interesting from that point of view as well. The final one was really about being a long-term player. We live in a very instant society. Everything is right now. I want to see this. I want to do that. I want to. You'll have this with some of your goals, or have it with some of the clients that you coach. I want everything right now, and with some things you can get it right now. So it's thinking about actually being a long-term player. Most good things happen over a period of time. If you're very lucky, you buy some Bitcoin, or you happen to get the right lottery tickets numbers, or whatever it might be. For the overwhelming majority of almost everyone, things take time. And so understanding that as part of the process of, if it doesn't happen instantly, it doesn't mean I failed. It just means I need to be consistent. I need to be disciplined, determined, ruthless and aggressive towards my targets, but keep going and being resilient. It's not a failure to take some time. It's very normal. That's what should happen. But quitting because you think you didn't get there quick enough is not going to be the answer.
That sort of touches on the idea of like the language that we use within ourselves even. The language of our thoughts creates, it has an effect. So, like Meg said, even using this sort of term of, oh, I feel like an imposter, or I'm suffering from imposter syndrome, it kind of puts you on it kind of nails your foot to the floor already, because you're basically telling yourself that you're an imposter versus, like what you've said, I'm a beginner. Like if you thought, oh, I'm an imposter or I'm a beginner, like those two descriptions of yourself can create two very different sort of emotional responses, which then affects your actions and all that. So being mindful of the language that you use within yourself is like unbelievably powerful in terms of how that affects your emotions and then your actions and then your results. So just being a little bit more aware of like, oh yeah, I always like refer to myself as X, Y, or Z, and how could I turn that around in just my own thoughts to use language which is a little bit more, shall we say, empowering, or whatever you want to call it, but that basically affects how you feel, because then that'll affect your actions and your results.
That's mean people are loving it, yeah. So I'm gonna eat my meal out there, then I'll come back in. So it's great. You are filming everything, aren't you? Oh shit, what's up with this? This better be.
So yeah, I'm going to talk today about recovery, specifically around tension, because I could talk about recovery all day long. But I'm going to talk about tension, and firstly how tension is created, what tension will then cause, and at that point Styles is going to take his shirt off, which is not something new to anyone because he's always got his shirt off on Instagram. And then I'm going to talk about how you can prevent tension, so tension prevention. I'll talk about the science behind what tension does, for example. So tension will restrict blood flow. So if you think about a closed fist, if you try to pour water through my fist when it's closed, not much is going to go through the fist, it'll go around it, of course. But then if you loosen it, there'll be a lot more water that goes through the fist. And that's the same with your blood flow and the muscle fibres. So if your muscle fibres are tight, not a lot of blood flow is going to flow through that muscle. And then, of course, you want blood to be flowing, because that's where your nutrition is going to come from, that's where the training stimulus is going to come from, any PEDs that you may be on. They're going to be carried with your bloodstream. So if your blood isn't flowing through that muscle, then you're not going to get anywhere near the progress that you want to be making. Off the back of that sciencey bit, it'll affect your training quite bad, because if you're tight in a specific area, your muscles will start to overcompensate for that area. So let's say your chest, for example, is tight on your right hand side, it's going to recruit a lot more of your shoulder to help with that, and then you're going to start to have the next point, which is muscular imbalances. So muscular imbalances will cause issues in terms of muscular growth, but then also when you're presenting your physique, you can see muscular imbalances quite significantly when you're on stage. So if I just bring Nath over, he's a unit, he's a lad. He misses his ear, so just be careful. If you just tighten your trap up for us, any trap you choose. I mean, that's significant, but that is what tension does. Tension does build your trap up. But if you look symmetry-wise, this shoulder's up high, that one's low. If you was to do a pose while that was tight, it'd be completely thrown off. And you can see, so anyone can see that, and that's without a tan, that's without stage lights. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so you can see that without stage lights, without a tan. If you're on stage and that's the case, then they're going to overlook you quite significantly, because that's going to throw off a lot of your shots, whether it's a back shot like that or front on. You can see the same thing, a front double bicep if your trap's tight and your shoulder's being raised. It's causing all sorts of issues. Stretching's huge. Stretching's huge because tension can't be caused in a stretched muscle. Tension's only caused in a contracted muscle when it's in the shortened phase. So if it's stretched and it's long, I keep using my bicep as an example. But if it's stretched and it's long, it can't be tight, essentially. So if you are stretching more regularly, it reduces the need to see a tissue specialist on a regular basis, or it reduces the need for you to do anything, I guess, on a regular basis. So stretching is something that everyone should be implementing on a daily basis, I'd say, to be fair. Well, prevention's better than the cure, to be fair. Prevention's better than the cure. You're just asking for I don't know, people ask me for all sorts of stuff, to be fair. Some of it I say no to, unless it's Mark. Some of it I say no to, obviously. What's that, sorry? Well, he said it. Yeah, you go in for essentially preventing any issues. So prevention is always better than the cure, as I've just said. So you're less likely to get an issue because, honestly, 95% of all injuries that come to me are tension related, which is why I've chose tension as the topic. Because you imagine if you've got a tight muscle, that's only going to get tighter. If you're continuing to train on it, it's eventually going to go snap and go and yeah.
So what are you actually asking for?
You are asking for prevention work, specifically a full body deep tissue massage.
Deep tissue.
That's it, full body deep tissue massage.
What do you think about massage guns?
I don't choose one. Massage guns bring blood to an area. Yeah.
If it's tight pre-workout, it'll do the job.
Is there a time when they can be beneficial?
Yeah, pre-workout, post-workout. What that does is it brings blood to an area, which isn't always necessarily a good thing. So you need to push that blood away. So let's say you're using it on your quad, you just need to give it a little rub and push that blood out again afterwards. But what it also does as well, which I've actually seen firsthand, is when it's vibrating, it's disrupting the nervous system to tell your brain that there's an injury there. So let's say someone's got a bad back, and they say, oh my God, it's chronic. They get the massage gun on it. The brain then doesn't know that back's in pain because the nerves are all over the place. The back's saying, oh, I'm fine now. So you go into a deadlift and it's game over. And then you're bedridden for weeks. So just be mindful of that when you're using a massage gun. It's not a miracle thing. It doesn't just get rid of tension straight away or pain straight away. It actually disrupts the nerves.
Obviously, I've got great people around me, like Charlie, Meg. You know, I've got people around me that push me to be better as well, and I'm definitely accountable to. But more importantly, I'm accountable to each and every single one of you, because I can't have a day where I reflect my emotions on you guys, or, you know, I can't have a day where I let my eye off the ball, because ultimately, it's not just about my process, it's about your process as well. And I feel like that is definitely something that many of you practice and preach with your own business, your own coaching, and your own process as well. And I feel like that's definitely something that is lacked in today's industry. So, you know, I pride myself leading by example, and I definitely feel I could do that. So this year is definitely going to be a big stepping stone in the process that I'm doing, in the things that I'm going to learn, and the things that I'm going to obviously have a big transfer over to you guys with the coaching process as well. I feel like at the moment, we've got a big push on self-development through getting more business. And while that's all good and well, getting more business and learning on the job can only teach you so much. And I feel like that's something that I've realised probably a couple of years ago before I started mixing it with the guys that are far more knowledgeable than me. And I'll always be the first person to admit I don't know it all, I really don't. And there's a lot of people that I seek advice from, there's a lot of people I consult with, and there's a lot of people I learn from, even right now, to be better. And I feel like that's something that you all need to be honest with yourself right now as well. Because the biggest turning point for me was, like I said, probably 18 months, 2 years ago, where I realised for me to get to where I want to be and truly reach my potential, not just as a bodybuilder, as a coach, and I believe both go hand in hand. I think it's so popular for people to say right now, you've got to be a coach or an athlete. It's like, that's not true. For me, the better athlete I am, the better coach I am. Because the more I learn as an athlete, the better my coaching will be as well. So the biggest thing that I'll be personally focused on is, again, getting better. Making sure that my knowledge certainly is getting better and improving. So again, in the background, I don't really allow myself to get complacent in many ways. And there's still a lot of things that I'll be doing and making sure that I get better for you all, to reach my goals and reach your goals as well, because every single goal that I've set out is interlinked with my bodybuilding, my own process, but with your process as well. And I feel like this is the value that I want to bring for you today, guys, and definitely something that I want to raise with you all. Definitely a group of fantastic individuals that I share a lot in common with. So, massive thank you. I'm not going to ramble on too much. This is pretty much all I want to cover today. And I'll let the wife do the talking, as that's pretty much her meet today. So thank you all so much for coming. Appreciate it all. And I'll I'll let Meg take over the show.
I'm going to talk about being an athlete because I feel like I can speak about being an athlete because I've been one for a very long time. I'm not going to bore you with my backstory because I'm pretty sure that most of you know it, but I've been an athlete since I was 8 years old. I was a competitive diver for Great Britain, competing all across the world, managing to kind of become 4th in the world, 1st at the Europeans, over a course of 12 to 13 years, and I've been an athlete for a really long time, so we're going to skip to the next part and we're going to get into it. You are allowed to do other things other than being a bodybuilder. You can have a work, you can have a business, you can be someone who has a family, you can be someone who is a great partner to your partner, and you can be a bodybuilder. You can do all of those things and not one of them needs to take a hit for it. Unfortunately, all you have to do, not all you have to do, but the one thing that you have to do is just have space and time for each thing. And it's easier said than done, and it's easier for me to just literally say to you, that's what you need to do, because that's what I've been doing since I was 8 years old. I've had time when I've had to be at school, I've had time when I've done exams in an airport in China because I've been travelling from here, there and everywhere. Didn't sit a GCSE in an actual hall with other people that were in my year group. So it's very easy for me to say, but if you actually start to plan and organise your life a little bit better, you will learn to be able to do that. You can have time to be able to do your family things. You can have time to be able to put into your bodybuilding. Things may become a little bit kind of mixy at times, but you need to be that person at different times. Otherwise, everything's going to eat you alive. You are allowed to be an athlete and you are still allowed to have other things going on. I think Dave touched on it, Charlie touched on it, Kuba's a very big advocate of it, that bodybuilding is not forever. I knew that diving wasn't going to be forever, and I had incredible parents. I had my brother, who's a big role model to me in life, and he told me that you can't just have that, you need to have something on the back burner. That's why I trained at university to become a teacher, to make sure that I had something to actually go into post diving, because I knew it wasn't going to be forever. I dislocated my shoulder twice, and lo and behold, diving was over forever, and I had to have something else to fall back on. That can happen with your bodybuilding. That doesn't mean that you have to kind of put each day, you don't have to put more effort into other things each day, but you do have to put effort into other things, and do know that you can be successful in all those different things as long as you put your effort into it. You may be busy, you may be someone that doesn't have time to do X, Y and Z things at other times, and you may have to say no, and you may have to miss out on social occasions here, there and everywhere, but you can do all of those things, but each thing has to have time. But you have to put your all into absolutely everything. And I've also gone over the imposter syndrome. If you weren't in the room before, we've already gone over the imposter syndrome. Don't see it as that. Literally just see yourself as a beginner. Whether you're a coach, an upcoming coach, whether you're going to be a successful bodybuilder, don't ever see yourself as an imposter. You're not an imposter. You're someone right at the start that's willing to learn, that's going to get to where you need to be. And professionalism. Professionalism is the biggest thing that I could probably push you towards. A lot of you probably want to compete within the IFBB. You have to push yourself to be someone that's part of the IFBB. Any other federation that's in the UK, exactly the same thing. From being 8, I've been brought up in an environment where I had to push myself as a professional. There's been times when I was a diver when people weren't being professional, whether that be in work, when they've been kind of taken away from work, or they've done something where they've been arrested, etc., etc. That's not giving a professional image. If you want to be respected as someone as part of your federation or as someone part of your sport, you need to provide that professional image at all times. Be that person that you want to be on stage. Be that person that wants to be respected, that has that utmost kind of professionalism at every little part of your life. And the last thing is, don't get affected by outside noise. If other people are saying no to you, or if kind of there's peers amongst you that are saying you can't do it, etc., etc., just prove them wrong and put your all into absolutely every day. Don't be affected by the people that are trying to say no. Prove them wrong and prove yourself right, and that's the best thing that you can possibly do as an athlete.
Beautiful. Good, my people, we are back at the headquarters slash the house with the dogs. So we're just going to freshen up and then we're probably going to head back to the gym. But we don't need to show you that. Definitely just want to say a massive thank you to all the clients that could make it. It was definitely a great event. Something that we've wanted to do for a while, especially Meg, as she unfortunately hasn't had a chance to get all her people together. So it's been great as a unit to get that done. So we appreciate you all watching. We hope you like the content and like, share, subscribe. You've got to see all that fun stuff anyway. So for now, take care guys, and we'll catch up soon.